This is the face of a convicted K, 38-year-old Lee Young. Lee Young had ended the life of his housemate, who was classed as elderly and vulnerable. On September 29th of 2024, Lee and his victim, 62-year-old Shaun Harriman, had previously got on well. Shaun had often lent money to Lee in order for Lee to buy Class A. Lee would always pay him back, and that was the true understanding that both men had. Now, Shaun's vices were drink, and a lot of it, and he was known to get agitated from time to time, but he was also classed as harmless. Now, Lee Young had entered Shaun's room, overpowering the 62-year-old and then pinning the victim against the wall. Lee Young then opened his hands, spread his fingers, and then put them round Shaun's neck area, tightening his grip. Lee Young only let go when Shaun's arm stopped flaying and he stood motionless. At that point, Lee Young realised that he was the one holding up Shaun. Shaun was dead, right there and then. In an attempt to cover his tracks, Lee had dragged Shaun across his room and then put him back into his bed, the quilts over him. At no time did Lee Young think about dialing 999 or requesting emergency services or telling the other housemates that Shaun was dead. Rather, Lee Young says that he just wanted to take Class A and forget about his problems. Now, Lee Young then left the house that they shared in Hewitt Street. The 38-year-old then spent the night drinking and, as I said, taking Class A. Lee Young later on returned to the place, went back into Shaun's room and then took his wallet, his mobile phone, and also some important paperwork. The alarm was only raised the next day when carers went round to visit Shaun Harriman, only to be stunned, shaken to the core, and deathly afraid, realising that Shaun was dead, hand impressions black and blue imprinted on his neck, just a little after 11:50 a.m. on Monday, September 30th. Police quickly conducted the investigation, and evidence suggested that not only had Lee Young used his own hands, but he also used the victim's headphone cable, and Lee Young was quickly located. He was then charged with the M of his elderly housemate the same day. Now, Lee Young had a defense ready. The defense was self-defense. Lee Young explained he often borrowed money from the victim to pay for drugs. Lee had gone to Shaun's room and they had a conversation. Lee, during the conversation, needed the wardrobe for no apparent reason other than being hyperactive and a bit silly at times. And in response, Shaun had picked up a small blade and asked Lee, "Why did you do that for?" Lee explained no one had ever put a blade to him before, and he was afraid. As he said, he nearly pooped his pants. Now, Lee responded by saying, "Chill, calm down," and Lee explained that Shaun had then gone for him. So Lee reached out and grabbed Shaun and they created some distance. In the altercation, Shaun had knocked his head and the two men began to scrap. And there was only going to be one clear winner, and that was Lee Young. Now, the jury just took 4 hours to return a guilty verdict. That meant that Lee Young was found guilty of the M at Derby Crown Court, and he was then remanded in custody and is due to be sentenced on June 19th. The judge warned a silent Lee Young that because he has been convicted of the M, a life sentence is going to be mandatory. He just has to set out what the minimum years would be. Condolences. Stay safe.